You remember the Russian plane that had taken off from Egypt and was going to St. Petersburg. It was filled with Russian tourists who had gone to Sharm el-Sheikh, which is a well-known tourist site in Egypt. Well, over 220 people died in that plane when it crashed. And in the beginning, it wasn't absolutely clear why it had crashed. And they wanted to investigate it. ISIS took credit for it, but they take credit for almost everything. It's not like we're going to trust ISIS's word on it. Well, now they have done an investigation, and it turns out it was a bomb inside the plane. And Russia does believe it was ISIS, and they are planning to strike back. I'll get to that in a second. First, Alexander Bortnikov, who's the head of FSB, that is the intelligence agency in Russia, they say, according to our experts, a homemade explosive device equivalent to 1 kilogram of TNT went off on board, which caused the plane to break up in the air, which explains why the fuselage was scattered over such a large territory. I can certainly say this was a terrorist act. So that is the head of the FSB in Russia declaring a terrorist act. Now, what is going to be their reaction? The FSB also offered a $50 million reward for information leading to the arrest of those responsible, appealing to the Russian and international communities for cooperation in identifying the terrorists. Okay, so $50 million is nothing to sneeze at. They're obviously very motivated to find the guys who did it. Now we go to Putin. And Putin, of course, as usual, is not playing. He said, there's no statute of limitations for this. We need to know all of their names. We're going to look for them everywhere, wherever they are hiding. We will find them in any place on earth and punish them. Okay. Now, look, it's easy to talk tough, and we also talk tough, and then we've dropped 5,000 bombs on ISIS, which is acting tough, right? Whether that's the best strategy or not is an open question, but certainly tough enough with 5,000 bombs on their heads, right? Now, Russia is bombing in Syria as well. Now, they say they're going after ISIS, and apparently in some instances they are, but mainly they're trying to prop up Assad's government. But remember, ISIS is fighting against Assad's government. So ISIS has now declared that Russia is their enemy. They blow up their plane, and Russia is saying we're going to find them and punish them. Now, they continue to do bombings. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. Russia does of ISIS. But one part of this that I like is that we're going to find out their names. We're going to be specific about who did this and go wherever to get them. Now, that's an idea that I like because I'm in favor of being more targeted. I mean, you can drop a bomb in the general area of a guy you think might have been involved. One, you don't know if you got him. Two, you kill civilians. Three, the family members of those civilians then want to attack you, and it's counterproductive, right? I would rather serve justice to the people who did it. Now, the reason you take Russia's threats a little bit more seriously is because, honestly, in the past, it appears they were willing to break the rules. I mean, there's some stereotypes out there, you know, from the old days of the KGB, the Russian mobs, etc. But then there's the reality, which is Russia has assassinated people all across the world, including, according to very credible reports, inside the United Kingdom. So if they're willing to assassinate people in Great Britain, okay, will they go anywhere and everywhere to find these guys and kill them wherever they are? Well, you have to take that pretty seriously, right? So Putin continues, we will act in accordance with the UN Charter's Article 51, which gives each country the right to self-defense. Everyone who tries to aid the criminals should understand that they will be responsible for giving them shelter. Again, when Putin issues a threat like that, and he has not been shy about pushing the envelope on international rules, you know, whether it was him crossing the border in Crimea, let alone in the rest of Ukraine, and the other actions that he's taken, you tend to think, yeah, he will enforce the rules of United Nations Charter Article 51, and maybe perhaps go above and beyond that. And he says, Russia's air campaign in Syria should not only be continued, but should be intensified so that the criminals realize that retribution is inevitable. So this is very, very interesting to see how all this turns out. Now, France is after ISIS, the United States is after ISIS, and now Russia and Putin is after ISIS. So ISIS has basically taken on the whole world, And it is a coordinated strategy. Now, take this the wrong way, okay? But it is what Trump does with words, right? He attacks everybody until he gathers everyone's attention, and through that attention, he builds his career. Now, ISIS is doing that in a completely different way in that they are using bombs and bullets, and they're killing people, right? But they are gathering everyone's attention. They are attacking everyone at the same time. And part of the reason they do that is because it makes them, to the people who might be susceptible to their ideology, seem more like heroes. I'm taking on Putin. I'm taking on France. I'm taking on the U.S. By the way, Beirut, they just did a massive bombing in Beirut. I'm taking on Hezbollah. I'm taking on Lebanon. And so we are the warriors. Come join us, right? So it might seem like, God, that's going to be counterproductive. And in the end, it might be, and I hope it is, right? But in the short term, they're not stupid. They're doing it for a reason, because that attention gets them more and more fighters to their side. So that's the game that's being played. And at some point, we hope that the game will be over and it won't turn out the way that they had hoped.